What's up, people? JayDub here along with Charlie, a.k.a. CM Punk Mark 35, and you are now tuned in to Pro Wrestling Talk Radio, the show where wrestling fans rate and debate the hottest topics in the world of wrestling. There's been a ton of stuff going on recently, rings collapsing, ratings inflating, legends returning, friends turned foes, foes turned partners, and a partner turned world champion. And as always, the PWTR crew will be discussing every single bit of it. Let's get the show started first with our Vengeance review. This was the final of 3 WWE pay-per-views, all in a span of 5 weeks. Now that we've had a couple of days to gather our thoughts on this event, what did you guys think about the first match of the night? WWE Tag Team Championships on the line in Kofi Kingston and Evan Bourne versus Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger.
I thought the match was a great way to start the show. The fans were kind of into it more when Kofi and Evan were on the offensive. They didn't really like when the heels were on the offensive. They weren't really into that at all. I gave this match 3 stars. I thought it was a great way to start off the show. It was fun. It had some good spots. I really enjoyed it.
By the way, Airborne wins with the Airborne. I, for one, really enjoyed the match, even more than their last encounter. I was never amongst the fans that were near the point of protest because WWE wasn't featuring the tag division, but now that it's experiencing a resurgence, I realize just how important it is. I love how these two teams have molded together in-ring wise. The way they perform, you think that they were partners for years. I guess that has a lot to do with the fact that both teams feature partners with similar styles. You have Ziggler and Swagger, the mat-based wrestlers with amateur backgrounds, and then Air Boom, both guys with that rapid-fire, high-flying style, so it all added up to a pretty good match. What I will say, though, is I wish Ziggler and Swagger would have won. Kofi and Evan, they definitely put on exciting matches, as my co-host pointed out, but that can't make me ignore the fact that their characters are just dull. It's kind of funny how Kofi and Dolph were in a feud a few months ago, and I talked about how both guys were lacking distinct personalities. Now they're feuding again, and I can see how Dolph has made vast improvements since then. He's developing a character, becoming more aggressive and assertive, impressing me on the mic. With Kofi, not sensing any improvement at all. Then when you throw Evan Bourne in there, Swagger and Ziggler just make way more interesting champions to me at this point. Moving on to the next match of the night, it also featured Dolph Ziggler. It was him defending his United States Championship versus Long Island IC, Zack Ryder.
This match was decent. I gave it 2 out of 5. It had some fun stuff in there. You know, they really kind of made you believe Zack Ryder was going to win, and the fans were kind of into that, which was kind of cool. For a crowd that was dead for a lot of the matches, they definitely kind of get into this one a little bit when they thought Zack Ryder was going to win. And then when Kofi and Evan got kicked out, they kind of fell out. I think they kind of realized that their hopes and dreams were about to be crushed. I like the fact Ziggler went over. I think that there's more of a benefit for keeping Ziggler hot than there is for rising Zack Ryder. I thought the match was decent. And, yeah.
I would agree with your assessment on the match and how the fans were just so wrapped up in the thought that Zack Ryder was going to win the match. Actually, I would say, even though I wasn't in the arena, I was one of those fans. It was a lot more than I expected it to be, seeing as Ziggler just competed in another match. But like I just pointed out, you know, that added to the excitement for this one. I was anticipating Ryder taking advantage of Ziggler and winning the title, but turns out that didn't happen. The fix was in with Vicky and Swagger intervening, and he lost. But even still, the last couple of months have been great for Zack Ryder. He's been on an amazing turnaround. He's gone from comedy jobber to getting his first ever singles match on pay-per-view, and it was a title match no less. So he may have lost, but looking at the big picture, Zack Ryder, he's done pretty well for himself. Divas Championship was on the line at Vengeance also, with Beth Phoenix in a successful title defense versus Eve, winning with the Glam Slam.
This match was actually pretty good for me. I enjoyed it. Definitely a good Divas match. There was no crowd. You know, the crowd didn't care. And they were out there a little long for me. They could have shortened it up a little bit. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. I gave it a 1.75 stars for a Divas match. That's a very good rating. And overall, I liked that Beth won. I almost got mad because I almost thought Eve was going to win for a second, which was kind of cool because I actually almost got into the match for a few seconds. So that was pretty fun.
Damn, a 1.75 stars. That's Divas match good. that says a lot about the Divas of today. But, yeah, I surprisingly enjoyed this match also. For one, it was refreshing to see a title match without Kelly, and the two competitors actually held their own in the match. The division, for me, is still at a severe low point, but at least they proved that they weren't entirely useless. They can provide even a little form of entertainment in some way. Sheamus versus Christian was up next. Sheamus defeated Christian in this match with a bro kick.
For me, this was very similar to the other match, like a little shorter. I didn't enjoy it as much. I just ended at a 1 3/4, which is a quarter star down, which isn't much, I guess. But, again, the crowd was very out of this. I mean, maybe they just assumed Sheamus was going to win. They were going to sit on their hands. But overall, I didn't see a lot of need for this match. It was very filler at this point because, you know, it's just one of those things where you're not going to advance the storyline. You're just going to have the same guy go over. It was a good match, but overall I didn't see a lot of purpose for it, and I wasn't very into it.
I was a little disappointed by this match. I was hoping for a lot more from these two guys. They've actually had a nice feud and good build-up going into these pay-per-views, but I still think this match suffered from WWE's oversaturated pay-per-view schedule. They competed in a good match at Hell in a Cell. Then only 3 weeks later, they're on another pay-per-view. Our missing co-host, David, he brought up a great point last week when he said that they should have attached a gimmick to this match, but I'm thinking that the lack of spark was probably by design. It seems like they were just treading water intentionally because they couldn't not put the match on the show, but they're saving the big stuff for Survivor Series. And if that is the case, it's another unfortunate side effect of this unforgiving pay-per-view schedule, and that really sucks because I've been enjoying this feud, and this was definitely a speed bump. Yeah, this match, it did nothing to advance this story at all. Another match offering at Vengeance was the Miz and R-Truth versus Triple H and CM Punk. Miz and Truth scored the winning points with an assist from Kevin Nash.
You know, it's funny, I said a 1 3/4 was good for Divas match. Obviously, that's not good for this match. This one gets a 1 3/4 as well. This was boring. This was probably one of the most disappointing pay-per-view matches of the year from WWE. It was just lagged. It was dull. It was anticlimactic. I guess the Kevin Nash storyline got advanced, but that doesn't help the match quality. It ended with a 1 3/4 in a disappointing and boring match.
Maybe I'm being too much of a mark, but for me, I did enjoy the match. It was great to see Miz and R-Truth look so impressive during the match and also getting the win when everything was said and done. A lot of people were complaining with Punk being the one to lose the match. I put it like this. Punk took the pin. Triple H took the ass-kicking. So I say it was a fair trade-off. I will agree with you in, you know, your assessment of saying that the match was kind of uninspiring because it didn't feel like a big enough event in and of itself. And that it should have felt that way because you have Triple H and CM Punk teaming on the same team. That should have been, you know, that should have been some magic, but that magic was lacking. That's probably why they felt the need to have Kevin Nash interfere. But in hindsight, looking at the three feuds that are branching off from this match, that probably was the best way to go about things. Next up, we have Randy Orton defeating Cody Rhodes with an RKO.
This match was good. It was very competitive. It was cool to see. The only complaint I have is that I don't think that if you were going to only have Cody Rhodes hit his finisher, I don't think Orton should have kicked out. I think that if you're going to have Orton kick out, you should have had Cody kick out of the RKO maybe once. I didn't like how he just kicked out of it. It was a good false finish. I don't think that should be done for younger guys. It kind of, you know, makes a finisher look a little weaker than it did before the match. Rhodes did look good throughout the match. I gave it 3 1/4, one of the better matches on the show.
Some people have made too much of people like Randy Orton needing to lose matches to young guys. Of course, that's the ultimate quote-unquote put over, and Cody has defeated Orton pretty recently, but sometimes it's just enough for an up-and-comer to be in the ring with the main eventer and look like he belongs there. It happened with Sheamus when he faced Triple H at WrestleMania 26, and it happened with Cody Rhodes at Vengeance. He didn't look like a scrub that was in over his head, and that in and of itself was a success in elevating Cody Rhodes' status in WWE, and the match quality was pretty good also, so this match gets a big thumbs up from me.
Well, hang on. I think the problem with the Sheamus feud last year was when they went to Extreme Rules and they played up the whole night that the beginning attack of the show was going to take Triple H out of action, and then he, stumbles down to the ring, and then a 20-minute match goes on, and then it takes, 3 of those bro kicks to put away Triple H. I thought that ruined everything that was done in that WrestleMania match.
But what was the result of that match, though?
Sure, Sheamus won, but he needed a hell of a lot to do it. He needed the pipe attack, and then we had this whole thing where it's Triple H probably won't be able to compete, and then you go and you put on a 20-minute match where you need to hit 3 of your finisher after this savage attack. We didn't even think Triple H was going to be able to wrestle. Come on now.
I think the way that they, I don't know if I can necessarily say the way that they handled that, because the way that Triple H came back at Sheamus, that was a fail, but wasn't that the exact match that caused Triple H to be gone for a long-ass time? He was out for a while after that match. So even though it did take 20 minutes to put Triple H out, look at the fact that it took 20 minutes, but look how long he was out. He was out for almost a year. So I say that 20 minutes was well worth it. We're going to move on to the next match of the night, though. Big Show versus Mark Henry, the match that I didn't think much of going into the show, but I thought the world of it when it ended.
I personally didn't give this match of the night. I thought the beginning kind of lagged for me. I didn't like how at the beginning they were doing the whole Mark Henry working over the legs, but he wasn't doing it in that big man, high-impact way. He was doing it in a technical way, which didn't come off very good. The match picked up. They did some great false finishes. They did some good spots, and then the end spot was a mark-out moment, one of the best of the year for that end spot. The match ended with 3 stars, and it was the one match on the show where the crowd, towards the end, was actually completely into it, which was very cool because they'd been almost dead the entire night. They did a very good job, and 3 stars. Very good for them, for what I thought I was going to get.
For me, this was a great match, and it actually does get the award for Match of the Night. From me, I'll even go as far as to say this. This match showed me why I love wrestling and why I love WWE. They feature a lot of guys with varying styles. You have your mat-based technicians, high flyers, brawlers, and also big guys like Show and Henry. Not everybody is supposed to be a Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, or Chris Jericho. Pro wrestling is all about entertaining the fans through whatever medium you see fit, and these big dudes did that and more at Vengeance. Like I said in my review video on YouTube, they couldn't do much, but for what they did do, they did it well. And on top of that, they actually used their size to their advantage and collapsed the damn ring. It was gold, and this is the type of match that you can only see in WWE. All due respect to places like Ring of Honor, you will never see a match like this in Ring of Honor. They're great at what they do, but yeah, I like the varying styles in WWE.
Also, it was very cool to see how they collapsed the ring with a match left. I definitely think that added more interest to it because it was kind of you got that buzz, all right, what's going to happen next? Unfortunately, the guy that gets to announce that is the most boring promo guy in the world, so it kind of killed it a little bit. But overall, that little, oh my God, what are we going to do about the WWE title match was definitely an interesting aspect as well.
Yeah, that was great. I would imagine what kind of rating would that pop if something like that happened on a main show and you had that, on a TV show like Raw or SmackDown, and you had that question, damn, what's going to happen, and how many people would tune in after that? But yeah, that was a great moment for this pay-per-view. And speaking of the question of wondering how the show will continue, we'll continue on. On the main event of Vengeance, we had Alberto Del Rio with an assist from Awesome Truth defeating John Cena in a last man standing match for the WWE Championship.
This match was very good. I don't think it hit great. They did a good job in the beginning of utilizing the broken ring with the various spots with the collapsed ring post and turnbuckle section. They did go to the back, which I'm not a big fan of on pay-per-view because I think it takes the crowd out of it, but the crowd wasn't very into it to begin with. They weren't really into anything on the show to begin with, so it was almost kind of balancing each other out. Some of the stuff seemed to get up from was a little much for me, but overall I thought the match was very good. They had some good spots. I didn't like the assist from Austin Truth. I think that it would have been so much better just to have Alberto Del Rio win. But, we got to protect Cena. We can live with it. Alberto Del Rio is still the champion. That's great. I gave the match 3 3/4. This was my match of the night.
This was a pretty good last man standing match for me. Love how they incorporated the broken ring into the match. It featured a lot of nice spots. One reason Henry and Show eclipsed this bout as my match of the night is because I care a lot more about Henry in the World Heavyweight Championship than I do John Cena, Alberto Del Rio, and the WWE title. So I wasn't as invested in this one as I was for the other world title match at Vengeance. But both guys did go all out to close the show nicely. On your point of them having to protect John Cena, I don't know if Austin Truth interfering was so much to protect John Cena as it was to advance what was going on between Awesome Truth, John Cena, and The Rock, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, yeah, if you notice, they could have ended the match when Awesome Truth interfered, and that could have been the end of it for John Cena. But, no, that was not the end of it. They had Alberto Del Rio jump into the ring and attack John Cena with the WWE Championship, and that's how the match ended. So I don't think it was so much to protect John Cena just to advance what was going on with him, The Rock, and Miz and R-Truth.
My thing was, though, if they didn't come out and do that and distract the referee, John Cena would be the WWE champion right now, and I don't like how that was booked.
Well, I guess you do have a point there.
Overall, I did give the show a 6.5 out of 10, by the way.
And where would that rank amongst the all of WWE pay-per-views this year for you?
Barely below WrestleMania, to be completely honest. This was almost on par with Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell did have 2 very good matches, but the undercard was very shaky. And Night of Champions and Capital Punishment, among others, are not going to be mentioned on the show ever again. So,
wait a minute, you said barely below WrestleMania. Could you expand on that thought? Because I'm sure a lot of people out here would actually think that that's a big compliment.
That was not a big this year's WrestleMania was very, very okay to not okay. I gave it a 7 out of 10, so a 6.5 is barely below this year's WrestleMania. With the one-match show and the disappointing main event and all that stuff, WrestleMania was not a good show.
For me, I'd say that this was one of WWE's best pay-per-views of the year. That may not be saying much, given some of the clunkers we've gotten from WWE in 2011, but I still think this show would hold up on its own. We've been inundated with WWE pay-per-views recently, and this one had all of the makings to be just a throwaway show. It did have a throwaway match to me, but, turns out it was an important event, and it was pretty quality as a whole.